What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. This interview is brought to you by the Jank Barbecue, best barbecue in Texas. And today, I'm just gonna jump right into it. We got possibly the best kicker in the 2024 NFL Draft. This guy's amazing. He's a two-time first-team All-American, two-time first-team All-Pac-12. And while we're going to take and play some highlights at the bottom of the screen here, we're actually going to get to know the man underneath the helmet. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce my special guest, Joshua Karty. How you doing today, man?
Doing well, Doug. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, dude. Super blessed to have you on the show today, man. Man, take us from the beginning. You're from Burlington, North Carolina. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome,
yeah,
man.
So,
what was it like growing up there, man?
Born and raised Burlington, North Carolina. Parents are from California and Oregon. And, I grew up playing a lot of sports, a lot of soccer, and then made the transition to football beginning of high school.
I mean, you're putting teams on your back and winning games. You done such a phenomenal job, man, in college. But did you always play kicker, or?
Yeah, I never played any other position. So I started playing football freshman year of high school. Before that, I was big into soccer, was going to go to college for that, and then made the decision to switch full-time after my sophomore year of high school. And that's when things really started to take off, and definitely don't regret a single thing about any of it.
Definitely seems like you made the right decision for sure. And everything.
Yeah.
Also, what position did you play in soccer?
I was like a center back. I was always trying to be a center mid, but I was too big. I stopped growing in 7th grade, pretty much 8th grade, and so I was an early bloomer, and so they just threw me into defense.
Love it, man. Very cool, very cool. And now, do you have like a favorite soccer team or favorite soccer player?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's Man United.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been a rough decade or so. Yesterday, I think we set the record for the latest lead given up to lose a game. We were up 3-2 with in the 97th minute, and then we lost 4-3. But yeah, I still follow it a little bit, but not like I used to.
Gotcha, man. Very nice, very nice. Well, so man, you grew up a soccer fan. You got your favorite squad, man. And then of course, man, you go off to have this amazing college football career. And Stanford is such a decorated university. What ultimately led you there?
Yeah, so my dad actually got his PhD there in quantum chemistry, so that was the familial tie already. So it was always growing up like its academics speak for itself. It's very prestigious. The athletics department as a whole is the best in the country every year. And so just growing up, it was automatically my dream school, my top pick. And I knew that if I ever got an offer from there, then I would pounce on it immediately. So when the likes of, UNC and Georgia came around and some other schools, there were also good options. Like, you can't really go wrong. It was still just a no-brainer to choose Stanford.
Yeah, their academics are phenomenal, man. I mean, you're set for life and then some.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Take us to that game, man, where you hit 5 field goals. You set a school record for Stanford. That's amazing, man. Talk to me about that game, man. How did that game start, man? Did something happen that day, or?
Yeah, I mean, as a kicker, it's kind of like you don't really control it. You kind of are presented with scenarios, and then you have to make the best of it, take advantage of what you get. So, like, I didn't wake up that morning thinking like, oh, I think I'm going to get 5 field goals today and we're going to win 15-14. I just kind of woke up like any other game, pretty much thinking I got to be ready for whatever, and I got to be ready for game-winning field goal in the end and just play out all the possible scenarios in my head. But, I mean, I like to think that if I'm presented with 5 field goals every single game, then I'll sink all of them. But that was the only time I was presented with that opportunity, and just really glad that I was able to help the team out. Get the W against Arizona State at home.
I love it, man. I love it. And then you've been known to whack them well over 60 yards, man. What's the furthest, whether it be in a game or even outside the game, what's the furthest that you can hit a field goal?
Yeah, so my furthest in-game field goal was a 61-yarder a couple of years ago. But, I mean, just, if we go like indoors or something, no altitude, I think I could hit. If I hit it perfect, I can hit upper 60s, maybe 70.
Wow. That's amazing, man. That's very, very, very cool, man. Yeah, and it's a lot of stress being a kicker, man. In high school I was briefly a kicker, as I had a really good practice, and and then I got yanked real quick. It just took one game. So it's
how it is,
a
man.
lot of pressure, man. Like, how do you tune out the noise, man? I've always been curious about getting the mind of a kicker, because it's not an easy position to play. Like, it's very, very difficult. But how do you tune out the noise, man?
Yeah, just focus on the moment. For me, I have key things within my technique and my process that I like to focus on, and so try to take the focus away from the outcome. And so when I'm doing that, that's when I'm playing at my best. So if the stakes are high and it's an important game, an important kick, I'm still thinking about my process and what I need to do to give myself the best chance of hitting a great ball, as opposed to worrying about what's going to happen afterwards. I mean, I'd be lying if I say I didn't feel nervous. I think we all do. We all feel the emotions of the game, but it's just about defaulting back into that process, back into that routine, and then trusting your kick, basically.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the best barbecue in the state of Texas, the Jank. Now this barbecue is in 4 delicious flavors, and they got some of the best dry rub in America. Guys, if you live in the state of Texas, in any HEB, you can now find the best barbecue in Texas on the shelves. No matter where you're at, all around the world, you can take and place an order down below right now in the description of this video. And guess what? It gets the Doug Smith cosign. Because, hey, y'all know, I don't play when it comes to barbecue. Place that order right now. Growing up, man, were there any kickers that you probably modeled your game after, or as I should say, probably technique?
Yeah, so I would say really in the last several years is when I really started paying attention to more of the NFL kickers. Like growing up, I didn't really watch football, honestly. Like I know I was more of a soccer guy, unfortunately. But I definitely Justin Tucker is the GOAT. His ball contact, his leg speed, his power. Is all really fun to watch and something I like to look at and take things off of, steal from. And then Matt Gay also, we have the same trainer. He's with the Colts now. We have the same trainer, Dan Orner, back in North Carolina, who I've been working with for 6 or 7 years now. And he's also a 2-step field goal guy, similar technique, and we have a similar thought process routine, I believe.
Amazing. Yeah, no, it's good to take and watch some of those guys, man. You mentioned Justin Tucker. That guy is phenomenal. Matt Gay is another one who's just building a legendary career, absolutely. What was your aha moment, man, where you realized, like, man, one day I can take and go pro?
I guess really my aha moment kind of came not this past season, but 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Where I guess we were just kind of halfway through the season and I was still perfect on field goals, like 12 for 12 or 14 or 14 or something like that. And I was just thinking like, man, like, I looked down at my stats and I was like, all right, this resume is starting to look more like an NFL kicker resume. And I was like, shoot, like this is very tangible. It was really exciting. I feel like that's when my aha moment was, back in high school and even before that in college, like I always believed that I had what it takes to be an NFL kicker, but definitely when it starts to unfold in front of you, that's when you really see it, happening, and it's really cool.
Amazing. Recently, you were selected for the Reese Senior Bowl, biggest bowl game out there, man. You got all the NFL teams are there, evaluators. What was that whole experience like?
It was a lot of fun. It was my favorite part was just meeting a lot of the guys in my draft class who were, basically 150 of the top guys in the country from all over, and just making a couple cool friendships, couple cool relationships, and then just being in the presence of like a lot of greatness, like, past and also in the future. The practices, really a lot also felt like a normal game week, just, smack in the middle of February a little bit, I believe. So, going through the practices, focusing on my kicking, getting feedback, working with the snapper and holder, and then, going out and trying to perform in the game and just having a great time the whole week.
Love it. I love it. Now, once your name is called, man, no matter which round that you're in, there were some mock drafts have you going as early as round 3, man. You have that type of value and talent to add to an NFL franchise. But when that happens, what are some of your goals year 1 in the NFL?
Yeah, so I mean, the first and foremost goal is to win the job. Nothing's ever given to you, even if you're drafted. But win the job, complete the whole year starting, and I want to finish in the top 10 or so. I want to finish in the top 10 in field goal statistics, percentage wise, and distance wise as well. Just come out banging a little bit. Rookies on average, I think I heard, they have a couple percentage points lower than the rest of the league. But, I see no reason to just come out firing and just have a great season, ball out, and let whoever know who drafts me that they made a great choice and to make them proud.
Love it. I love it. And obviously the NFL, they have new kickoff rules. And most people seem to really like it a lot. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, I mean, it has its ups and downs. I think for the overall game, it might be, a positive thing. For
Mhm.
me, someone who likes to kick deep kickoffs out the back of the end zone every time,
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit less important to have a kicker who can kick 75, 80-yard touchbacks versus a kicker who, you know, can't take away a return every time.
Mhm.
So I think you'll still see some deep kickoffs in the game pretty often because the ball goes out to the 30-yard line or so. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I believe it's
So
30 yards.
I still think there will be a fair amount of deep kickoffs. But now it's just more like a lot of it's just placement. They want the ball around the inside the 5-yard line, entice the return a little bit, and then take them down inside the 30 now. But I think the game will have more big returns, and I still think the deep kickoff will be part of the game. But yeah, it should be fun though. Should have a couple tricks up my sleeve. I think most kickers will, be working on a couple different things to get the ball down and rolling and make it awkward for the returners.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Question: how does someone, because again, kicker it's so mental. You know what I mean? Yeah, people are old linemen. They're like, hey, I'm going to work on a few things, but for a kicker, it's like, man, very little room for error. How do kickers face up if you're playing in like bad weather? It's very windy, very rainy, or even snowy in cases. What are some things that you do to make sure that, hey, you're putting your team in the best position possible?
Yeah, I think like my routine, my thought process really doesn't change all that much with like the weather. Just no matter what game it is, even if it's indoors, I go out and I use the warm ups to get a gauge of how my ball's flying, what's going on with the wind and the rain, and at each distance, how it affects the ball. And so I use that as a gauge. And even if it's 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts or completely still in an indoor stadium, I think that my process stays the same. And I mean, I really don't change anything if it's wet or if it's raining or something. I don't have to, field the ball with my hands or anything. So it makes it a little more difficult for the snapper and holder. They have to maybe change something or so, get the ball down and on the
Yeah.
spot and make sure it doesn't slip or something like that. But for me, I think I have a little bit of a lighter plant on field goals than a lot of guys. So I don't
Mhm.
find myself really slipping around too much, even when the field's muddy or something like that. Even at like Stanford Stadium, we were on the grass field, and it was honestly kind of tough conditions a lot of times compared to turf fields and some other fields in the country.
Yeah.
Now it's actually a lot better. But opposing kickers had a really tough time at our stadium. I think they went about 10 for 20 in the last 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So they were shooting 50% with a long of 44 in our home stadium, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of it was to do with the footing, everything on the field was more difficult, especially if you're not used to it. And so I do think I'm well equipped for the different conditions, the different variables that come into play. And then I basically just use the warm ups to get a gauge of how things are for the actual game, just to help the team win.
I love that, man. No, I love picking your brain, man, because it's I feel like kickers don't get enough respect, man. They just, oh yeah, just kick the extra point or hit a 40-yarder here and there. Man, there's a whole science to it, man. I'm subscribed on YouTube to Destroying channel,
Yeah.
the kicker. And now he's on the Brahmas now, but like hearing him get ready, I'm like, whoa, he opened up my eyes to the world of kicking, man. So it's yeah, it's definitely a very difficult position, man. So, have you ever had a time where, hey, you're the last man to make the tackle? Have you any in those situations?
Yeah, so I've made a couple tackles in college. One of them was a pretty good Superman dive. I
Mm-hmm.
liked it a lot. It looked pretty good. Ended up not even counting because they had a penalty and they got the
Oh
ball
man,
on the 1 yard line anyway, so it worked out great.
yeah.
But yeah, actually, the last play of this last season against Notre Dame, got a field goal blocked, and then they were returning it, and I was trying to make a tackle,
Mhm.
and there's a lead blocker though, and I ended up breaking my collarbone.
Ooh, okay. I got you.
So
Yeah, I think there was an injury in there I saw. So okay.
yeah, it's all chill now and like nothing crazy. It was as far as injuries go, I'm really blessed. It was just a collarbone break. Was
Yeah.
back, a matter of weeks. But not quite how I wanted the last game of my career to go, to finish up in the very end. But yeah, I learned my lesson about when there's a lead blocker coming at you. You don't really have much you can do.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, it looks like you healed up nicely, man. So that's pretty good.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Now you're from North Carolina originally. North Carolina is definitely known for their food. Are there any, if somebody goes to Burlington, your hometown, what places would you recommend for them to eat? Is there like any one or two places?
Yeah. Something with my West Coast buddies, like for example, my other kicker at Stanford, Emmett, when he came home with me,
Mhm.
uh, took him out to Waffle House and Cookout. Like those are the two mandatory things you got to experience. Because I mean, it's not specific to North Carolina, I don't think, but just the West Coast guys, they never heard of them a lot of times, and
Yeah.
and that was a lot of fun after football games in high school, going to both of those places every week. And
Love it.
so I would say definitely those two, Cookout and Waffle House. Get all the milkshakes. I usually like to experiment with the milkshakes at Cookout, see how many different flavors they'll let me get at once.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I love, yeah, the milkshakes are second to none. They
Mhm.
should be a lot more expensive than they are. And the hush puppies are phenomenal, man. I
Oh
pop
yeah.
those things all day. They're great.
You said you're in Texas?
I'm in Texas, yeah, but I used to go to Warner
Okay.
Robins a lot when I used to live in Orlando. So they
Okay.
have a cookout over there, and then I lived in Raleigh in 2011. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, cookout is amazing. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, there's no cookouts out here. I hope they come out here, but
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's, it's going to make their way eventually because it's really good. But I'd
yeah,
say definitely those two places.
absolutely, man, absolutely, man. What would you say is the biggest lesson while playing at Stanford?
So I mean, we definitely went through some rough times. We were 3-9 the last 3 years.
Yeah,
My class, when I committed back in early 2019, we were coming off of a 9-4 season, and that was our worst season in over a decade. And
yeah,
so a lot of my expectations and my class and my team's expectations weren't really met over the course of our 4 years there. And so I really think it was more character building than anything else. And so while it really kind of sucked at the time, there were a lot of bright moments and a
yeah,
lot of extra special moments because of sometimes they were few and far between. But I would say in general, just it made our bonds within our program, within our team extra strong, and just prepared us for pretty much anything in life that can come our way.
love it, man. I love it. Yeah, it's the game of football, man. Is a way of teaching you many lessons: how to handle success, how to handle failure, how to stay humble when you're ahead, how to stay motivated when things are down, man. So, if you're learning something, technically you never lose. That's the whole saying, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
sir. Now obviously, man, you've had this amazing career, and I get the privilege of interviewing you today, man. It's absolutely a blessing, man. One of the best kickers to ever do it. Seriously, man. What's something you want NFL teams, NFL scouts who come across this video, what's something you want them to know about you that they may not know already?
I think my leg strength is unmatched in this class, and there's few guys maybe in the league that can match it for field goals and then for kickoffs too. Um, but yeah, I think my consistency at the long distance kicks in college were one of a kind. I finished on 20 straight makes from 40 to 49 yards in
Wow.
the last 2.5 years. My average attempt distance in college was the longest out of anyone in the country, I believe, unless I'm proven wrong. I think in the last 3 years, I was averaging, 43 yards per attempt my freshman year, and I think the last 2 years was about 42 yards. And I think most guys are, like 38 yards or so. So I think my average attempt distance was about 4 or 5 yards longer than the average kicker. And then, I had also made, dating back to high school, at one point I had made 59 consecutive field goals from 48 yards and in, which is another stat that's going to be tough to verify because you have to delve back into my high school stats. But also it's not a stat that's being kept track of. So I'm definitely a numbers guy, definitely an analytics guy. That's why I ended up at Stanford. But definitely have a few of those like niche statistics that no one else will like ever know about.
That's cool, man. So not only you have a golden leg, you got a golden mind too, man. That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Yes, sir. Well, Josh, man, thank you so much for taking and coming on the show today, sharing your story with the world, man. Oftentimes we just see the player, but it's so great for people to get to know the person, man. So thank you so much. Before you go, man, any shout outs?
I just shout out to my mom and dad and my brother. I can't forget him. I'll see them, be with them back at home with the draft, and I'm excited about everything. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, whether you land on my team or not, you got a fan of me for life, dude. So thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, people watching this interview, be sure to go down below, comment on this interview, let us know how it made you feel, where you think he may land. Let us know your thoughts, and if you want to give him a follow, get inspired, I'll have his social media stuff down below in the description of this video. And we'll see y'all next time on the Touchdown with Doug Smith. Thank you for watching another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith, where we have exclusive NFL content and exclusive NFL interviews. Be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. Follow us on social media. See you on the next one.